So if you're a young black male getting into construction, you definitely need to hear this because I like to tell things the reality wise, which is the truth, how things happen, innit? It's harder for young black men to get into construction. That's just a given. I've made a video about it yesterday. I will pin it in the description of this video. And it was talking about why second generation young black men are not in construction. And it was some reasons, yeah. But I also wanted to add in that there was definitely some solutions, some solid solutions. But you can't run away from or control the things what happen that are not in your control. And I'm going to speak about some of them incidents today because those incidents happened to me, innit? So the reason why I make these types of posts is obviously to make people aware of what goes on within the industry or the things people just don't like to talk about. They're not going to want to talk about it with you because it's uncomfortable. It's fucking uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for them. No one wants to be seen this way. But you know what? Wipe your eyes. It is here today. It's always been here. 2025, we're just going to talk about it. Yeah, we're not trying to keep these subjects or situations alive, but it is what it is, isn't it? And it's just arm yourself with skills to be able to deal with these situations, right? So I've worked for numerous workplaces, and some workplaces I've really got on with it. I've enjoyed it. My race has not come into it, but there's been certain instance where it's happened and I've highlighted it and I've said, hold on, that just doesn't sound right. Why you need to know this, or you're asking me for this type of information, right? So what type of information are they asking me for? Are you asking? They could ask you for anything. So do you remember when it was COVID? Everybody was going back to work. I was working during the COVID time, yeah. So we had this form which said the right to go back to work. So it was a health and safety check, which HR was given members of staff. But in this form, it stated what race are you, yeah. You know, it's personal, up to you if you want to say what race you are or whatever like that. But at this specific time, the talk in the office between me, the account manager, and someone else was, you know, black people are more sustainable to or more likely to catch COVID than other people. That's stupid. Again, I'm not going to go off of that. And it asks me if I identify it as blame. Um, I just want to make it for the record now. I'll tell people that I said this. I said, I don't identify as blame or nothing. I identify as a stolen slave. Yeah? I don't care if that makes you feel uncomfortable. That's what I said. And I said that because it's no need for you to identify my race in this matter, because it doesn't matter, to be honest with you. Anybody could have caught COVID. We know that. And a lot of people did catch COVID. And it wasn't because of their religion. It wasn't because of their race. It was just because they caught COVID, right? They didn't have the injection, whatever. But I'm not going to label myself as someone who's like that and that needs to identify that, because it just wasn't necessary. And on that actual sheet, which was identifying the types of people, none of the types of people were white on the sheet, which I found a bit weird. I said, but what about people who are white? You're not including them on the sheet. That's a bit prejudice towards a certain race of people, which you are doing. So I thought, I had a problem with that. Again, the manager didn't like it, but you know what? I know I'm not going to be somewhere forever, so I don't care, innit? I'm just going to tell you how it is, innit? Because if you overstep the mark, I'm going to overstep the mark, most definitely. This is a workplace. I know you're supposed to conduct yourself in a certain way, but that was one bit too much for me personally, right? So that started happening around COVID time. Later down, I've went to other jobs, and I'm in a predominantly area where it's just affluent people, right? So the race of people that are there are mainly like European, I would say, and people who are not from England, basically. Yeah. So it's billionaires, right? So again, we're there working, and I speak to the director of the company, and we've got a tap to fit in, and he says to me, "Oh, we need to get these parts for this tap." And I said, "Oh, okay. There's a plumbing shop just walking distance from here, so let's walk to the shop, and you've got the account, you've got the card, you're the big man, so you go and purchase it, and I'll walk with you, I'll show you what it is, what we need." got what we need. And he decided to tell me that, oh, it's all these fucking foreign taps. I looked at him and said, sorry, foreign taps? Where someone chooses to get an item which they want you to install, you don't have any say where that is, whether it's a British tap, whether it's a French tap, Italian, whatever. But what does it matter, mate? Do you get it? I thought at that point, that was uncalled for, because again, the conversation wasn't talking about people from different countries or talking about someone's race. It was just talking about the tap, and now it turned into foreign taps. I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's just the part, innit? And we need the part. I don't really care where it comes from. I'm sure the other people don't really care where it comes from. They just want it fitted, right? So that made me say something. I was like, oh, okay, if you feel like that. So I highlighted something which I had, which was a bit of a problem for me on site, which was a way another person was talking to me. So when I started working on this site, I realized there was just so much work to do, and it's impossible for like one person or two people to do this role, because again, sometimes you might need to be in multiple apartments at different times, because everything's really working off of time schedule. So you've got a PDA, you've got appointments which you can go to. Someone might ask you to come to number 3 at 1 o'clock, and someone might ask you to come to number 2 at 2 o'clock. But if your time rolls over, or if you can't get done what you need to get done during that time, you're going to have to make arrangements to have the other time slot moved, or have it rescheduled another time, right? Just make it easier for yourself. I always tried to make it easier for myself when I got there by asking them for all the hereditary problems which were going on inside the building. And I sent this email in like my first week, right? Because I was under the illusion that, you know what, this is too good to be true. And again, it was the first time I've been working for billionaires. I was happy that I got the job, because I realized that, you know what, either something's going on or my skill levels went up. So I've got there, doing the job, getting the job done. I'm not getting any praises from anybody, but everyone's all big men, innit? So I'm not expecting praises from people every week to week to say, oh, you're doing a great job, even though I am on their flagship contract. So I'm at their main head, bees of the knees contract, face up with most of their highest clients, basically. All of their clients are billionaires who are there, right? So I'm able to do a good job. I've been around that type of field in the first place, because I've had 2 different jobs for like billionaires, which have been around about the same type of thing. So I have a good understanding on how people want you to be. They don't, it's like being a posh butler, where you could do your services, do the things what you need to do, but they don't want you to see you around all the time if it's not necessary. Do you know what I mean? People want privacy, their own space. And to be honest with you, most of those people are never really there. So they're never really in those places when you are. So what I ended up doing was doing it my way, but getting good results, but not getting any feedback from them, which I maybe should have asked for week to week. But again, it's a lot to ask for when you have a weekly meeting, and your weekly meeting should consist of some type of feedback and the process on what's going to go on next. I implicated things like a whiteboard inside the office, so that allowed us to be able to see which jobs were outstanding and which were waiting to be done. This came with good and negative points, because I was able to say that, look, I've been asking you about this job for 5 weeks. You've still not dealt with it. But I saw the resistance to change and the resistance to having a better resourceful workplace within the people's within their reply when it comes to, oh, we think that's a good idea, or we don't think that's a good idea. So I said, okay, so now I'm summing things up. I've asked them for all the hereditary jobs. There seems to be no hereditary jobs. We've got outstanding jobs, loads of them, but they're not interested in doing them because they see them every single week. And one time when the main manager came down, I think it was the same time when he said to me about foreign taps, he like scrubbed some of the stuff off the board, and I'm like, well, those jobs are not done yet, so why would you scrub them off? Again, now we don't have a record of them, and we don't know what they were. I do know what they were because I took a picture of it on my phone. I'm not stupid, innit? I'm not going to play that stuff with people. Like, they're still going to be outstanding, and at some point you're going to try and get onto me about them. This is what I realized what they like to do. So they like to play that game. So I had to make sure that the game what I was playing was super tight, because being a young black man getting into construction, yeah, people are on your back more than other people. Obviously, I was the person who is controlling the site, so they're naturally going to be on me, but there's a way of communicating, and there's a way of like being non-complicit when it comes to communication. When someone asks you for all the hereditary jobs from before, it's up to you as the line manager or the main manager to pass on that information, because it's detriment to the site. It's also going to help with the engineers, and it's going to slow up the process because we're working with communication within ourselves. So it's communication within the company, which doesn't work, because sharing the communication seems to be a powerful thing. And if we don't share it, we are still in power. Do you get it? It's like someone playing chess with you, but playing chess with your time, because they know that there's always stuff to do, but they're only telling you about a little bit, right? So I just tried my best to stay on top of it, which being in contact with the person who was on site, liaison with them every day, that person made things always difficult with me. I think they didn't really like me as a person, but he hasn't got to like me as a person. We're just colleagues working together. It is what it is. But he tried to say to me one time, "Oh, I'm not trying to bust your balls, you know." And I said, "Bust my balls? What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Oh, you seem a bit upset." I seem a bit upset. You wouldn't know if I was upset or not, because I don't come to work to be happy or in some type of mood. Do you understand? So I thought that's a bit weird. Anyway, I moved on from then, and then I said, I raised it with the manager, and the manager said, "Oh, do you think he's treating you any different because you're black, Jay?" I said, "That's not what I said. I've never said that to you. That didn't even come across my mind to play that card." But him wanting to play the race card on me was like, I see who you are, so why would you say that? Because that's not what I said to you. I did ask him, why did you say that, honestly? And he was like, well, I'm not racist. I've got black mates. And he showed me someone on Facebook. And I was like, that's weird. Facebook. Okay. So from there, I knew something was seriously up. So I made a statement, which was me turning into some type of whistleblower, but I'm in a workplace, innit? So you got to save yourself. And if you don't start talking about things from the beginning when they do happen, they will say, why didn't you report it at the time? Right? So I reported it at the time. And when I reported it at the time, they thought it was to do with the other person who was saying, am I busting your balls? I'm like, no, he didn't say nothing to me. It was you lot. 1 second. Wanted to change that, see how that works for you. So I said, no, it wasn't him, it was you lot. And he was like, oh, okay, well, we'll try and deal with that for you. And I said, deal with it. I've told you about it now, innit? I don't know what I can say to you, because the reality is that it's happened, innit? What do we do about it? And they dismissed me from the site, which was not surprising, because again, the issue which I was raising with them was in-house. This is my own manager telling me that, oh, I've got black mates, blah, 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 blah. Again, in 2024, do I expect someone to talk to me like that? Hell to the fucking no. Am I going to have it? No, definitely not. We could be done here. It's not about the money. It's about how you're talking to me. I don't think it's necessary for you to talk to me like that. In 2024, no, I don't. I did make a video about it at the time, yeah, but I didn't release it on my channel or nothing, because look, prematurely, yeah, no one wants to be subject to a level of hate or dislike. So I was annoyed when I made that video. Probably swore a fucking couple times, but why wouldn't I? You've now made me lose my job from an attitude of someone telling me I've got black mates. I didn't even say it to you, but I got to tell people that you said it to me, because that's fucking weird that you tell me that. Because for one, we're not mates. I'm a colleague who works at the same workplace as you. So even to show me someone else on Facebook is W with a weird. I don't care if you're a big man. You're a big man who's 50 years old and you're doing stuff like that. And you think that's not going to make someone else feel uncomfortable or feel away and say, why would you say that? That's not what I said to you. Like, I don't have a problem with you having any type of mates, whatever race they are or anything like that. Doesn't make me feel more comfortable, and it doesn't make me feel like you're understanding the things what I'm saying to you, because that's not what I said. Didn't say that. That's a fact. I didn't say that. And basically, HR said that we're going to remove you, and like this is the end of like your contract, basically. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm not into fighting people for what I know or what is right sometimes, because it's all energy, it's all time. You feel hard done by, because again, I put my eggs into the basket and the basket's just been rattled. And previously to that, that same I was working with a guy who was there for a year, and he told me, we ain't ever done so much work since you've come here. Since you've come here, it's like they've got loads of work. All we used to do was sit in the office for 5-6 hours, go to the cafe for an hour, then it'll be the end of the day. We never used to do work. So I'm saying to myself, these men must think I'm an idiot, a fool, to be doing all this work. Then I'm getting the real story back from people who are there. And most people who have been on that site, they left the company, because that site is a hell site and it's a person to deal with. He's very difficult, but you know, he's just a person at the end of the day. You can only do what you can do, innit? You know, like, but I will say now that that person was very, very rude within communicating with people, and the disregards, like, some people, they come from wealth, innit? So they tend to talk to others like pieces of shit. That's the truth. And I didn't mind the talking to me like that, because again, I'd be stern with him. I'm not a boy for you to be talking to me in any type of way. You're not gonna sun me off, because I know there's loads of things what you don't know. Like, you're still wet between the ears, that type of vibe. So the things what you know and the things you don't know is not a lot, not to me. And I'm not thinking that me and you have some type of problem. Again, I'm trying to just move through things and not take nothing personally. And the crux of that story is that what I learned is that HR is not for you. Even as a young black man that has a problem with inside the company, it's not going to be for you, periodly, point blank, because all HR is there is to save their own company. It's nothing to do with you. Yeah, it's nothing to do with you. They're the people that will see you out the door the legal way, will get you out on some technicality, will get you out on something what you said, will get you out because you didn't do something we told you to do. Again, you live and you learn. But that's why I make this type of content, for people to be able to learn about how these things happen and what you can do from it. So I'm going to talk about my last scenario, which was most recently in 2025. So I'd been working for this company for about 7 months. When I first got there, yeah, I started working with this guy, and he's proper, like, how can I say, like, small man syndrome, aggressive, and just like telling me stories about like growing up in a certain type of estate, which is in London. The estate is what estate is it? It's a estate in South London. I can't remember what it's called now, but there used to be a lot of crime and stuff what goes around his estate and stuff like that. So you know, it's the estate what Lee Murray is from. Yeah. So if anybody knows what that estate is called again, it's that estate. This person thought they was going to be interviewed by James English. Yeah, James English is a guy who talks about gangsters and people like that. You're not a gangster in any type of way. You might have lived around something, you might have had an experience, but you're at work and you're a working man. You're in your 50s and you still glorify that type of stuff. But that's your own business, you know. So getting this person's type of character, which is just that type of person that thinks that it's cool to speak about that in your 50s while you're losing your teeth, which are in your mouth, which because they're rotting, basically, because you're not taking care of yourself. I know I sound like I'm doing a lot of personal digs, but this one's fresh, isn't it? It's 2025, so I gotta give it to you properly. I ain't gonna give it to you any soft way, because this person not only fucked up my job, but just fucked up the beginning of 2025 for me. And yeah, it was annoying. So I'm going to talk about it in this type of way. So this is what happened with that person. And we're working together. And so I'm getting an understanding of who he is, where he's come from, and that type of thing, which, you know, it's not always necessary. What I did see from that person was there were some people who were previously at that site before me. And there was an African guy, Josh. And he made this African guy very uncomfortable. Look, the workplace in general was a lazy workplace. Yeah, people had a lazy attitude towards work. Again, you're going to get in problems sometimes, or you're just going to do what you have to do. I just come to work to do what I have to do, but you get involved in these little pigeon box arguments and situations what happen because there's so much politics within the workplace, right? So when I heard him speak to him about being African, he goes to him, "Oh, what are you going to put an African juju witchcraft on me?" And I'm like, a man from Kent who used to live in South London, used to come from an estate. He's now telling someone as the supervisor, "Are you going to put a juju spell on him?" What the fuck are you talking about? But this is where people always took things a bit too far. Men inside the workplace, yeah, you have bantery jokes, you have conversations, things you want to talk about, whatever. Let them be on topic and be maybe necessary for the workplace, right? And a few little off-topic things. You might be talking about some stuff that's going on BBC. But this was the same person who openly told me at a time, you know, there was a time when they done these like, oh, race riots and people are going to come down to certain areas and stuff like that. He told me that one of his members of his family was involved in something like that. And I was like, that made me look at you really sideways. So when you was saying all of those stuff about this African guy at work and, he's African, certain African people are not educated, they're dumb and blah, 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 blah. It was like, I sit back and I watch, innit? I watch because he thought I was like for his corner and stuff like that. I'm myself first. So things what I don't agree with, I'm not gonna laugh at. I'm not gonna get involved in. I'm gonna observe it. Because you and I know that it's a wrong thing for you to do, but you continue to do it to him and to him because you felt like he was the person to bully. But the real people who are causing the problems in the workplace, like the other guys who were white, you weren't saying nothing to them in that type of capacity. You weren't talking to them like that. It was very much singling out one type of person for what reason. It's hard to explain why you're doing that with extra maliceness. It is very hard because I'm an adult, you know, and like to be aggressive or to be upset or to be annoyed with someone, they have to do something personally to you, what upsets you or what rubs you up the wrong way. But to carry that on to the next day, the problem's with you because you address stuff inside the workplace normally and you move on from it. That's what most men will want to do, because holding on to a grudge or doing something consecutively over and over again doesn't make any bloody sense. You're not getting through to people. That's the whole point. And this person, like, they done that, and that made me say, wow, But what the icing on the cake was we was working at a corporate company. I've messaged this corporate company to tell them that this person was doing this at your company, right? So it's all out there. It was Black History Month, yeah? We're setting up the stage and in this area for Black History Month, they're having some type of event inside the corporate workplace. I won't say the corporate workplace because I just won't. He goes to me. We're walking down the stairs and we had to set it up. Now we're going back to get a drink or something like that, walking down the stairs together. He goes, Jay, goes to me, yeah, what's all this Black History Month about? Why don't Black people get over slavery? I said, sorry? He said, yeah, what's all Black History Month about? Why don't Black people get over slavery? At that moment there, I had to pause and I had to say to myself, an answer's not necessary for me to do, even as a Black man, because I don't represent Black History Month. I'm Black. I understand what Black History Month is about, but it's not about that. It had to let me pause and I had to say to myself, fuck. It's a decent little job what I got here. I'm making money. This shit's over, man. Why I say this shit's over? Because this shit ain't gonna last. Because if you're saying stuff like that openly to me, you can see me, innit? Everyone can see me right now, innit? At 50 years old, that's your thought about Black history. And because we're in a workplace, you want to express it to me. I'm not a lapdog for nobody. I'll tell people that, nah, I'm not an idiot. I'm not a person that's taking talk. I'm not a fool. I'm a person who is very proud of my race. I understand what Black History Month is about. I don't feel the need like I'm here to educate others about that. We're just inside the workplace. So with all of my last 3 experiences, what I've told you about different workplaces, what I have to say is that you got to have your wits about you. You got to understand that this game of chess and checkers and the things people will say to you with inside the workplace, with you just being Black, it's like I've got a Black mate now. I can say whatever the fuck I want to him about the race or about whatever I feel, which is racist. Yeah, we know it's all racist. Is it necessary? No. What type of friendship do you have or partnership do you have with this person? Remember, it's all just about money, innit? It's nothing else, innit? I only know this person because I'm working at a place trying to make some money, just trying to make my life better for myself. It's nothing else, innit? I'm not some Uncle Tom that wants to be underneath man or kissing man's batty and all that. That's not my vibe. People know that. People who know me know. I'm not a joker. I'm not on that. But in this testing time, yeah, where you just need your bills paid, you don't need anything else. You don't need attitude. You don't need the rest of the people looking at you in some type of way. You try to get away from these types of vibes or people, but the industry is full of these types of people. They come in all different shapes and sizes. And again, if sometimes people see you being a progressive person, you have a really good attitude, people try to break people. And that's what I saw with that guy when he done with Josh. And that's what I saw when he would say stuff to me. You know, as a 50-year-old man, we're going out to the shop. We go to M&S, we go and walk to the shop. There's loads of women about, yeah? But what type of women you're into is your business. As a man who's in my 30s, I don't need you to discuss it with me. Do you understand? Because I don't care. That's the reality, is I don't care. We're just at work. I'm not a man that, no man that I know, no man that knows of me has ever been out with me in public and seen me say, yeah, I want to that girl, you know, because she's such race. Or I've seen this white woman. I really want a white woman today because she's that. I don't talk like that because I have a lot more respect for women than that to be even just saying her race, because she's a certain race, I would want to sleep with her. That's weird with a W. I get it. People fetishize about people. There is something called that, but this is what these people do in a 9 to 5. When we're all thinking about work, they're thinking about someone of a different race and desiring to have sex with them just because they are a different race, which is just weird for me, because we're not pals or nothing. Do you get it? In any type of way, we're just work colleagues, and of course it made me feel uncomfortable. It made me feel like I didn't want to be around that person, because I knew by that person treating the way they treated that other person, I said to myself, there's no difference between me and that person. I know that because I can see my face. I'm black, Caribbean. Do you get it? I don't run from who I am, but you can't change people's opinions on you because their opinions might be made up of their own thoughts, which I understand as well. That's life. But what I was able to do was document some of the stuff, and in the end, I went off for a Christmas break, and when I came back, they said, "Oh, you didn't message me, so I thought you weren't coming back." I've been working for 7 months straight, and only had 2 weekends off. For someone to say to me that I'm not coming back, or I didn't think he was coming back, was obviously an excuse to get rid of me, isn't it? Because if someone works so much, why would they not come back? I just didn't agree with how some things were going on inside the workplace. So if I'm choosing to have a break, I'm not going to contact you when I'm on my Christmas break. I'm not. It's not necessary. It is unfair dismissal, but with me, I only try and fight every battle fairly. And sometimes you're faced with people who make that decision for you, and there's nothing that you can do. I'm contracting at this point. So by rights, I don't really have much rights on the situation. I'll be real with you. Yeah, you can go to a tribunal, you can go to things like that, but this is all going to cost you time and effort. Time and effort what you don't have, energy which is spent on something which is totally negative. But this video is just to make you aware of these things happened to me in 2025, 2024, COVID time, all up to now. So it's just for you to be aware of the real shit, what happens, what people just don't want to fucking talk about. I'm into employment. I don't think it's wrong to have a full-time job as a plumber. I'm in my 30s. I need a stable life. A stable life is a stable income. Sometimes the people you're around and the people who you choose to get it around, I would say study them a lot more. Get to know who they are. Because when you know the people, yeah, you won't be shocked by their actions. And shocked by their actions and the things what they do, because you have a record of the things what they do. And keeping a record is one of the main things that I've learned how to do. Remember, I do social, but keeping a record to make sure that my record's cool, that's something that I'm still dealing with. Like, I don't want to go to another job and tell them the reason why I've left this job is because someone was racist towards me or whatever. But I might just have to do that. I might just have to tell them the reality. And I will tell people the reality. I don't, you know, when these situations happen, yeah, I learn from them. It doesn't make me look at everybody else and say, oh, they're racist and they're. Most people are not. Most people I don't have that problem with, but the people who I do have that problem with, 2025, it's the year of telling people how it is. How it is not always nice. It's not always the best version, what people want to sum up. It's not always what people want to hear. But it's uncomfortable conversations which are part of some people's everyday life. That's been part of my life because those are the things what have happened. Of course, it's fucking held me back big time because, again, there is no problem, and I do this with my hand, no problem with my work, with my attitude, with my punctuality. We're talking about things which are out of my control. Out of my control. And to the wrong person, yeah, that will bring you some real mental stresses in your head because, again, your second question yourself, am I doing the right thing? Did I explain myself enough? Have I given them enough information? But all you're doing at some points is just proving the facts, proving and overliving the things which happen again and again to you, which sometimes are out of your control. When they're out of your control, what do? You seek advice from people who you know, or you might ask someone else, have you ever been through this? They say no, and you're the only person. You contact ACAS, and ACAS can only help you to a certain degree. A problem like an unfair dismissal, yeah, you would need to go to a tribunal. That's what you would need to follow. But that takes a line of process. And that time, yeah, do you have time to keep chasing that or keep putting in those things? No. Most corporate companies are going to tell you, oh, sorry, or sorry that happened to you. Yeah, it's not fair. That's why I tell you that you need to watch this video if you're a young black male getting into construction, because it's not fair. There's a big part of things which are not fair. And it's not cool to put yourself through it. Because for some points, you just want to get on. You just want to do your job. Just want to get paid. You want people to stop thinking that it's you being the problem inside the place. Because it might not be you being the problem. You might just be getting along. But again, you have people who are out there for you, and you have people that are out there against you. I've helped many people like get extra bread at work, make sure we get the overtime, pattern up, make money, blah, 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 blah. But in the long run, those people like are going to side with the managers, these types of people, which is okay. It happens, man. You know, discrimination is here and it's always going to be here to stay. Discrimination within the trade is fucking real. Like I said it years ago when I went on Fixed Radio. I said, when you look at equality, yeah, through the trades, yes, it doesn't look fair, because when you look at the tree of commands of most corporate companies, none of those people are brown, black, or Asian, right? They're all mainly white, which when a white country, you're going to get that. But to see some type of development when it comes to stages and where people are, you would like to see people of different races get into those positions and holding those positions. But when you don't see that, there sometimes can be a disparity between encouragement and reality. Encouragement is, yeah, I want to strive to do better things. I want to do this. It would be nice for someone to give me the opportunity, because people have to give you the opportunity to get to somewhere, right? So I was always given the opportunity by a company to be able to become an apprentice plumber. And I always said to myself that that person has never judged me for this, never judged me for nothing else, never judged me for even the skills what I didn't have when I first started. They gave me a fucking chance. By giving me that chance, I was able to create a career for myself and become a plumber. I know that it's a difficult time in 2025 right now with finding a job and just holding it down, because the economy is fucking up, because there isn't a lot of jobs, and because on top of it, we have this dislike or this border where people can't cross, which is, you know, getting into real good paid jobs, jobs where you could help others, or jobs which can just change the market a little bit. And I've always been searching for those opportunities. Don't get me wrong, people will give you opportunities and chances, but don't put your eggs in one basket. That's one thing I'll say to you from the jump. Make sure you do many different things. When I tell people that I do modeling or do this or do that, they initially don't believe me. And there's a stigma from brown and black people where we have to keep on justifying the normal things which we're doing to be able to seem like we're normal. Like, oh, I do this and I do that. Oh, you must be a really good person. Yeah, I'm just trying to be a good person. These things make me better for experience of life. These things make me more worldly. These things allow me to travel. These things allow me to do this and that. But the work is the sole bread and butter, as you would call it. And I don't want anybody to mess up my bread and butter at the end of the day. I got things to do like everybody else, you know. But this was just a conversation which I wanted to have with people to show nothing but clarity. There's no maliceness in any of these stories. Again, these things happen to people. People have probably had some worse things happen to them, but they feel it's not a good place to share these stories. Again, I don't hate any of these people from any of these stories. Life is life in. I've learned things from these people, which might have been mistakes which I've made, and I've thought about ways I can protect myself, protect my dignity, my pride, my respect, your ego. You don't want any of those things to be hurt, because those make you feel something emotionally, innit? I feel emotionally when I thought about those situations before, because I want to make sure that I dealt with them the right way. And the right way, sometimes you're always guessing how to do that. You don't get everything right the first time. You could talk about situations, but most people, they find these conversations uncomfortable, period. So when they're uncomfortable, they're not going to have them with you. So I decided to have them with people online because from what I can see of my own platform, we've got an interest within this type of conversation, which I talk about because it's reality, it's stories which are really fucking happening to me today, right now in life, things which we can't really run away from. So you talk about them, you deal with it. You hopefully people come up with some good comments in the comment section, which allows people to have good engagement. Because this video is not just about negativeness. It's about just things which happen. How you deal with them is how you're going to triumph a lot of these situations. How I was able to vent and tell you about some of these things which happened to me years ago, today, because I know that they still hold some type of relevance within my life. They've shaped the way I look at something now. I look at things from a different point of view. I have to consider longevity within something, and I have to look at the things which I see people do. Oh, I see them say this, you said that. Okay, I might not take that to heart, but if you say anything more, you've more than crossed this border of what's okay to say. Because I'm not saying any of them things. I'm not saying, oh, people of color. I'm not saying the bros, the man, them, this, that. I don't do that. We're not doing that. I'm over 35. I don't be doing stuff like that. But I get it. Because you got to put yourself in other people's shoes. Other people's shoes is sometimes they haven't come across people like yourself before. Again, if they've lived a sheltered life or they lived a life where they've not had to integrate with people within London, that's their own business. I'm never here to teach people about history when it comes to Black people and the things which we've contributed towards life or society or anything like that. If you choose to get to know about them things, you get to know about them things on your own. That is not my place to tell you. It shouldn't really be my place to tell someone, a grown man, that you shouldn't say that to someone of color, because you know what you should and shouldn't do. What you do is you push people. And people will push you to a breaking point to say something, you know. But these types of issues will scar a lot of people differently. I'm built different. Just tell the truth. I am. Because again, I always said to people that I would tell people about these situations because they're real things which are happening. They're not from 5 years ago. Well, they are from 5 years ago up to currently today. So they're definitely damn hell relevant. But making them relevant and keeping them like burning isn't something that I want to keep doing. You want to discuss things, put things to bed, and start a new chapter in it, because that's what life is about. Different chapters. I make this video for young black men, young white men, young Asian men, anyone of color, and anyone who is not of color as well. So don't think that this video is just targeted at them. This video is targeted at everybody to be able to understand the things which people go through, which they might not be willing to talk about it. Remember, a lot of men don't talk about their problems. And we don't talk about our problems because we're all macho. We're masculine is what they call it. I'm masculine. I'm a very man person. Do you understand? I like to deal with problems there and then. I don't like to let people fester or let people think things which are not going on. I don't. I keep it very 100 with people. I tell them what's up. Like I would tell a man, come outside, let me talk to you inside the workplace because I'm gonna shout at you. That's why. But we can go back in and we can be cool. But I don't ever think you can talk to me like that again. I be very forward with my words. I don't mix them. Which, again, a lot of people in those circumstances are treading on eggshells around those people because they understand that they're the manager, they're the supervisor. They could get rid of them. I know that as well, but I'm just not scared because, again, if I feel that you've overstepped the mark, I'm going to tell you to your face, respectfully, whether you like it or not. Don't talk to me like that. Don't ever think you can talk to me like that. It's not that. I'm not one of those types of people. I don't speak to you like that. So I don't appreciate you talking to me like that. That's it. And if you can't respect that vibe, then maybe it's not for you. But there are different ways on how to approach people because I know that everybody doesn't have that upfront thing to themselves. So what I would say to you guys is document it. When someone talks to you in a certain way, document it, write it down, put a time, put a place, tell people what you was doing so you can hold some type of memory to that occasion and document as much as you can. I wish that I filmed that person saying that, but I was there and I made that company know that that person did say that at that point. None of the things I've told you about in this live right now have I lied about. They're things which have all happened. It took me time to be able to have this level of transparency with myself, but also with the people that view me, because it's not like I care about how you feel about that situation because you wasn't there. Only I was there and the other people who were present. But you've never heard them say anything. It's just one side of the story you can hear at the moment. But you can take it as how you want, but I want you to take it as everybody is learning a different lesson in life. Whether it's a good one, bad one, it's a lesson to be learned and to be studied, but for also for people to make sense of it and possibly understand. Because a lot of people just want like the world or the workplaces or people just to be better people. And that's always been my journey from when I've been young, is just wanting to be better. Whether it's wanting to fit in with people, become part of a team or whatever, it's just having some inclusion. And things like this make you realize that why life is so hard for some people. And I get why some people stay within their communities and don't move to other places because of these generic problems. This one was a deep one for me because, like I told you, man, I have to dig deep with these lives and tell you just the honest things what happened to me, man. Honestly, like I said, I don't hate any of these situations. I want to move past them, be more productive, and just concentrate on greater things happening. You should as well. I appreciate everyone that's watched this video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And I waited to the end of the video to tell you that, because if you've watched it this far, you deserve to subscribe and give it a little thumbs up. I'd appreciate that.